This episode contains spoilers. Please listen responsibly. Hello everyone, my name is Jason Ramirez, and welcome to episode 4 of The Hit List, a podcast where me and a guest cross off films from our watch list by watching them. I am joined today by producer, filmmaker, and HSF scholar, Pedro Castro Jr. Welcome, Pedro. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, we know each other from HSF, for the Media Entertainment Summit. Do you mind giving us a little more background as to who you are? Because we kind of barely know each other.
No, yeah. Well, I just graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with a degree in radio, television, and film. I do want to be a filmmaker that makes significant media that puts representation of like Latinos and other underrepresented ethnicities. And I really hope that after COVID, I hope that the entertainment industry starts booming up, and I hope I get a job somewhere.
You and me both, man. You and me both. So, Pedro, can you tell me what your viewing habits are when it comes to streaming services?
Yeah, well, I know there's a lot of discussion about like streaming services. Should they be a thing? Should they be awarded stuff and stuff? But I think it's a really like easy way to go and start, like for a cinephile or for like someone who loves movies. I think it's a very like accessible way to just make an account and just watch whatever you want. And of course, it's like the cinematic experience going to a theater is something different. Like maybe you want to go there for like your favorite movie, but of course the streaming services give you like that way to like just go and just watch the movie you want. And I do it a lot. I like just sit down on my couch, or like I'm in a trip or something, I just pop up my phone and start watching a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, I could say that throughout my years, I've gone from like watching movies on our family's like big screen TV with the surround sound system down to just watching on my phone. Because like back then I'd be like, no one go on their phone at all. Now it's like a few years ago, but now it's just like, oh, I'll be on my phone sometimes. But then like if I miss something, I'll just rewind. So that's kind of like how my viewing habits are. And I find myself doing the same thing with the two films that we're going to discuss today. So the two films that we'll be discussing today are Bumblebee, which is directed by Travis Knight, and Candyman, written and directed by Bernard Rose. So Bumblebee was on your list, Pedro.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit why it was on your list?
Well, yes, I've been a huge fan of the Transformers franchise. I did enjoy all the action of the Michael Bay movies. And when this movie was announced, I was like, this is interesting. I'm not sure what I expect from it, but I do want to watch it when it comes out. And it had a really good cast. I see that John Cena was there, and I think he's a rising star. He's pretty good. Hailey Steinfeld. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it. I ended up not watching it. It's just like, I think it came out like during like one of my semesters, or one of my busiest semesters. I didn't get to watch it in theaters, and I kept pushing it back. And when Jason came up and told me that if I wanted to watch a movie out of my list, I'm like, oh, Bumblebee's on this streaming service, I'm going to watch it. And I did, and I did find it really enjoyable.
Yeah, so I have a different opinion about that, but I think the main thing is because I could tell it was directed by a different director without even knowing it. Like, when I was watching it, I'm like, this is not directed by Michael Bay, is it? And I looked online like, oh, no, it's not. It's the only one that wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the same thing for me. I've been a fan of Transformers since, like, the first movie came out in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I rewatched it recently once the pandemic started up. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, this is what I remember really liking this movie. And I actually still enjoy it because, like, there's just so many elements that are happening. Like, so many characters from, like, different parts of the world, like, interacting with each other, like, different experiences with the robots. And then, like, they come together to, like, defeat the Decepticons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually one of the things I enjoyed because like they kind of poke fun at like the whole. There's like some meta jokes in there.
Yeah.
Like John Cena even said, they're called the Decepticons. Like, are you really gonna trust someone whose name is Decepticons?
Yeah. John Cena had little like very like fast, nice quips that I really liked.
Yeah. So I can say that like the beginning sequence when they're on Cybertron.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, it just like brought me back to my childhood. It was so cool.
Yeah, because I never would have imagined that we would see Cybertron like in a big budget American movie. Like it's always like Transformers on Earth, but never on Cybertron. And like, oh, they're on Cybertron.
Yeah, and just the way, like, I don't know, I kind of like the way that Bumblebee showed the CGI of the the world and like how the Autobots and Decepticons were. I feel like the Michael Bay ones are like very like complex robotics kind of, and this one was more. I don't know how to explain it. It was robotic, but it was more cartoonish in a way, like more vibrant colors and more like blocky. And I don't know, like I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's very different in that sense because I did see it was supposed to be originally it was supposed to be like a prequel, a spinoff.
Yeah,
But then I saw later on it's now just a reboot of the universe. So I think that's why they kind of changed the way they look. They make it look more colorful. Just because people just expect it more nowadays. You know, they want more colorful like superheroes and franchises.
yeah.
Because we're so used to like the how do you say it? Like the saturation of like the Dark Knight era.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's like dark and gritty. Like why can't Wolverine wear spandex? Come on, guys! Like he wears yellow spandex. Just let him wear it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like because of all of that, people just want to make everything feel like realistic, that they exist in the real world, and not make it kind of like look like cartoonish. But I feel like there should be a balance between like it can still exist in the real world and still look kind of odd and kind of different.
So I think I'm different than you because like I didn't like this movie.
Really?
Like I thought it was fine, and I thought if it was like a movie that like you just turn on TV and it just happens to be on, you can watch it and like just not care about it. But like this isn't a movie I go out of my way to see again. And there are a few reasons why for that. The first one being that like when the beginning when they introduce Haley Steinfeld's character, there are like 3 different instances of them like introducing her. First is the one at home, then it's the time at work, and then it's her hobby, which is like car making or like repairing cars. Yeah, mechanic, being car mechanic. Yeah, I don't know these words, man. I'm not a car mechanic. And I just felt like they're all too long for themselves. I personally would have like if I wrote the movie, I personally would have just gone with the mechanic scene first, where she's at the junkyard and she finds it, and then go on later. But you know, I'm not paid to do this. I'm not paid to write a movie. The thing I really disliked was how like a lot of the actors were supposed to portray teenagers, and they all looked like they're in their 30s.
Yeah.
So like the nerd that liked her, even though he's 23, he didn't look. He looked a little bit older than 23. Like his actual age is 23, and then the character he plays is supposed to be like around 17 or 18.
Yeah.
He didn't look like that. And I was like, why is this old man creepy on this young girl? Like even though I know how. Haley and I are like the same age, just like Like, I know she's 23, but she kind of plays a convincing 18-year-old because like I will give props to her for playing that character very well. But like everything else, like also like the fact that like they're like the archetype, I guess not stereotypical, but like the archetype of like the blonde mean girl, whatever.
Oh yeah, the bullies her. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole like trio right there. But basically, I hate those archetypes and I hate those tropes in movies because it's just so overdone.
No,
and, like, whenever I see it, it's just like, yeah, I'm out of the movie. I
agree with that. It's like with that with the bully, the blonde girl just going after her, and then they destroy her car, and like she doesn't come back ever. Like in the movie, like towards the end, it's like, why would you put that if you're not gonna like address it later on?
Yeah, so I didn't care too much for that character. And also like they kind of did the same thing where like they'll like introduce characters but they'll not use too much with them. So like the nerd as well, even though he wasn't really her love interest, she was his love interest, and he didn't really contribute much to the story beyond just like helping her keep the secret. And then in the end they're like, okay, I'm here to finish the fight, and he's like, no, the fight's over. Oh,
it would have been cool if the little brother took the place of Memos, or like the love interest brother, the love interest role. I think that would have been cool. Because like, I do agree that Memo's character did not really play any like importance in the overall story. Yeah,
so like I can kind of say that because she kind of has like Haley's character, she kind of has like a disconnect with her brother there.
Yeah.
But if her brother learned about Bumblebee early on, and Memo didn't exist in the movie, their relationship growing closer could have been like the basis of like, could have been like the secondary plot essentially. Yeah. Like they're apart and then they're together because of like the whole robot coming in their lives.
Yeah.
Which is essentially like, I noticed this all the way throughout, and I also saw it when Bumblebee went inside the house to explore. It's an E.T. movie, but not done well.
Yeah, I can see it.
E.T. actually helped the little boy, Elliot, that's his name, right? In E.T.
Mm-hmm.
He helped Elliot learn how to make friends, learn about friendship, grew closer for his younger sister. And in this one, it's just like Haley. Oh, she's coming to terms with the death of her dad.
Mm-hmm.
She's not being whiny anymore, even though it's kind of like a given to be whiny when you're that age. And like my favorite bit was when her stepdad gave her a book that said to smile.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that is like the most tone deaf gift ever.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, or like you have the nerves to give your like stepdaughter this kind of book. It's like, okay.
So I feel like I've been like over going on this conversation. I think it's like whenever I don't like something, I go on like a whole rant or essentially saying why I didn't like it. So can you tell us why you liked it?
Yeah, well, I think I liked it because it was very nostalgic of like the show and just bringing back the Autobots and the Decepticons, just like the content, like what it means to be an Autobot, what it means to be a Decepticon. It was just like it hit me. And going back to just like one thing I didn't like though about the movie is that it was supposed to be in the 80s, but it didn't really feel like the 80s. And they just kept pushing us like all this like 80s music and 80s like tropes. And it's like, can you stop hitting me in the face with the 80s things? I feel like they should have gone another way to show how this is like the 80s. I mean, they could have included like the music and stuff, but they just like shove it down our throats.
Yeah, that's actually something I wrote down. Like, hey Pedro, you want to know how you're in an '80s movie when they make an Alf reference?
No, yeah, and I mean, I really like the '80s, like the '80s era, like the '80s music, '80s stuff, and I do appreciate the way they portrayed it. But at the same time, it's like don't shove it down our throats. Like there should be a way where it like intertwines with the story without being like, oh my god, look, it's an '80s movie. What else did I like about the movie? I feel like I'm just blinded by the fact that it's a Transformers movie, that it focuses on one of my like the most favorite Autobots in the franchise.
So if it wasn't a Transformers movie, so like it's like essentially the same plot, same story, same characters, but it's not Transformers. If it's not Bumblebee, it's like a different robot. Would you like it?
Like you say, it was probably one of those movies that you just like changing the channels and you like happen to see, you would watch it. But I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but it's like I did enjoy a movie. I did enjoy the movie because it adds to the lore of the like Transformers, and I'm a huge like fan of like world building and like adding to the franchise. So maybe that's why I enjoyed it. And of course, I do acknowledge that there's a lot of bad things about it, but I mean, I like it.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Like we all just have our own different tastes and opinions about movies. I just like bashing on it because I have fun bashing on movies. But I do see how it can be an enjoyable film. And another thing that I didn't realize how much lore Transformers had before going into this movie. Like I knew there was like something going on, like there's like a rebellion or whatever. I'm like, there's a lot more going on there.
No, yeah, like I love the aspect of like giving a franchise more and more platforms to like just expand their universe. I think that's pretty cool, and I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I want to be a filmmaker, because you can create this whole universe through all different platforms.
One of my the last scene, not the very like the post credit scene, but like when Bumblebee transforms into a Camaro and it goes down the Golden Gate Bridge and he drives next to a trailer truck. I'm like, okay, that's an homage to Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
So that it was nice to see that.
I think it's kind of similar to Solo, like the Star Wars movie, where like a lot of people were pissed, like, why are you giving us a Solo movie? But to me, I think I enjoyed it because like you see that this backstory to like you expand the Star Wars story by giving more characters and telling the story about what happened during this time, and I think that's similar to what happened in Bumblebee. That's why I liked it.
Right. So I'm getting the impression that you really like these big franchise movies then, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Solo's actually on my list as well. I don't know when I'll watch it.
You should watch it. I do agree there is problems with it. I do know that a lot of people did not want this movie to happen, but I did enjoy it.
Pedro, do you think you should have seen Bumblebee sooner?
No, I actually think it was good for me that I waited to watch this movie. I feel if I waited when all the buzz was going around when it was coming out, I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. I feel that now that I waited, it was like all this build up, and then like when I watched it, I was like, oh, this was actually pretty good. Because I feel like if I watched it right when it came out, it could have been like, oh, this was okay. I didn't really enjoy it because I don't know how to explain myself. It's just that the build up. Like if I would because I waited more and more, there was more desire of me to watch the movie.
I see. I understand. That's
Yeah.
actually the main thing I've been saying for like the past few episodes here is that if I watched it before, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it as much as I do now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was supposed to say. Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, we're all kind of like forced to be inside now, or because like if we watched it then, would we have taken it for granted? So it's just like
Yeah.
you're just wondering like, So like for some of these movies I've seen, I think I've watched the right time, and there's like a couple of movies think I should have seen sooner because I probably would have enjoyed it as much back then as well.
Yeah, and I think another reason is like when that movie came out, a lot of people were like, "This movie's gonna suck. This movie's not gonna be good. It's a whole different story. People are not gonna like it." And then that's all those bad vibes are gonna be like, "Oh, maybe I'm not gonna enjoy it." And now that I waited and all people watched it, and I see that people are like, I kind of enjoying it. I kind of like do like this kind of new like turn of the franchise. Now I kind of see that, oh, maybe this movie's enjoyable. Maybe I'm gonna like it, and I go and watch it, and I'm like, oh, this is okay movie. This is a fine movie.
I think that's the same thing that happened with Batman versus Superman. Is that it just got so much bad negative vibes towards it.
Yeah.
And I saw it, I'm like, why are you guys like... I saw it like 3 times in theaters. That's how much I liked Batman vs. Superman. I can see why people didn't like it, but I don't think it deserved all the hate that it got.
I agree. I did also enjoy Batman vs. Superman, and I do agree that all that hate it's uncalled for. I thought it was a good movie, especially if you watch the Ultimate Edition.
Oh yeah,
it makes it better.
I think it's also because people do that with Zack Snyder films. Like they did it with Sucker Punch back in like 2011.
Yeah.
And I thought it was gonna suck too, but like I watched it like back in March. I'm like, this is a lot better than I thought it would be because it's just like there's more things happening there. Like I recommend watching Sucker Punch because it's just like it's like a woman's like escape trying to like handle the world that she's living in. So she like escapes into her mind like in a fantasy world.
Okay.
People don't give Sucker Punch enough credit. They don't give Zack Snyder enough credit. And then like once Justice League came out, people are like, "Oh, this sucks." Yeah, because the guy who directed it couldn't direct it anymore. He was grieving. So
yeah.
And now a word from our sponsors. Now back to the show.
All right, Jason. Candyman was on your list. Why was it?
So I saw this video last year from a YouTuber. I forgot the name of him, but he basically went on he had a video essay about Candyman and how people didn't really appreciate it as much. And he explained like the whole symbolism behind Candyman as well. And I really liked like the video essay. He had a very good argument. And he also gave the history of Candyman, like what the story is based on. And if you guys aren't familiar, the story is based on an actual thing that happened back in the 80s or 90s where a woman in the projects, she had a mental illness. And so people didn't believe her whenever she called 911. But she was in a project. She lived on the 11th floor of this project, and she said like they're coming in through my bathroom mirror. She called 911. That's what she told them, and they didn't know what she meant. But really, it's because like if you see the movie, you know why. Because like the way the building was built, the pipes, for a way for like people to like fix the pipes, an easier access will be just to connect the bathrooms like side by side from the apartments. So like they could just like take off the mirror and then fix the pipes in there. So that's what happened. She was murdered by someone. She got shot 4 times, and the 4th bullet killed her with like internal bleeding. And I was like, so that's what Candyman is based off? Like, wow, that's an actual horror story it's based off of.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Dude, there's this, it's an article. It's like a very long article, but it's like explains the whole thing. It's called "They Came In Through the Bathroom Mirror." So, and also the second reason why is because Jordan Peele has written the reboot that's gonna come out this year, and I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peele, so I want to see it because I want to see the original because it's supposed to be a sequel, a follow up to the first Candyman that came out in 1992.
Yeah, I did. After I finished the movie, I did search it up, and I did see that this new movie coming out was going to be a direct sequel to the first one, and they were going to ignore the other 2 sequels from back then.
Yeah. I haven't seen the second 2 films. But I did see that Candyman 3 had a 10% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I don't. I looked at Wikipedia, so I'm not sure if it's like the critics or audience, but either way, it's not a good look.
And another thing that cool, I didn't know about Candyman. I didn't know it was a movie until I did see that they released a trailer for Candyman because Jordan Peele was producing it or writing the movie. And now that then when you said you were gonna watch it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch it too. And I was surprised how good the movie was.
Oh yeah, I've been like realizing this because I'll watch like films from like this decade and the past decade, and I'll watch films like back in the 90s or so. And I don't know how to explain it in a way that makes sense, but like it has a very different feel to it.
No, yeah.
And not just because of like the cameras are different. I think it's because like the movies made today are made in studio, whereas the movie like that you see back then, they were actually filmed on location and very limited in studio.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the type of films that you see, but this one you can see it was filmed on location. And there were a couple of instances where it was like filmed in a studio.
It does feel very authentic, and I really like that about like those old 90s, 80s movies. And yeah, I do appreciate the way it feels more organic and not them in like build up like the studio, like you said, studio or like a set or just CGI everything.
Yeah, and it's like the way I say it, it just feels more grounded in reality.
Yeah.
And I'll discuss with a couple of my friends like the difference in like Spider-Man movies. And I'm old school. I still like the first two Spider-Man movies by Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
And I particularly like the first one because whenever I watch the first one, it just feels very different from the movies you see nowadays. It feels very different from like Far From Home and Homecoming. And I think it's because like I think particularly it was shot on film, the Spider-Man with Sam Raimi. And also, it just feels more grounded in reality because, like, when he's out on the streets of New York, he's actually in New York City.
Yeah.
And whereas, like, with Spider-Man Far From Home, with Homecoming, that's with Tom Holland, you don't really get that sense. You can kind of tell, it's a money-making movie.
Yeah.
It's built to make money.
No,
so
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you gotta make the money.
No, yeah, they're still enjoyable. It's just feel different. Like, they hit differently.
Exactly. And it's not like the Spider-Man directed by Sam Raimi wasn't a money-making machine. It was just like the first of its kind to actually make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I really liked about this is because like Candyman is a different kind of movie monster in that he only wants to kill you if you don't believe in him.
Oh yeah, that was one of the most interesting plot points that I saw from the movie. It's like he wants you to believe in him so he can survive, and that's the only way he survives. And I do not know of another movie. There's probably some other movie out there, but I do not know of them or that they use the same reasoning of like, I kill people because I want people to believe in me.
It's a very different motive.
Yeah.
And whenever you see horror movies, this is kind of mean, but like usually the people who die kind of deserve it. Either because like that's just like a horror movie trope. Like the people who are dying, who are being killed, are the ones who like committed a sin and they need to die, or they're too stupid to like not follow common sense. Like don't go through that door, go the opposite way.
Yeah.
Usually they deserve it, but this one, no one deserved to die.
Yeah,
like, they're all innocent people, and I'm like. That's what made it more scarier to me because like it just came out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And like how the killings were, they're like so brutal and like so graphic. It's like legitimately scary. It's not like one of those movies that just pop up. It did really reminded me of the Hereditary movie, which is probably one of the best movies of like the past 10 years. It's one of my favorite movies because it makes you like scared like shitless. Like it's not like pop-ups. Like there's stuff in that movie that just keeps you like, oh my god, this thing is actually happening, and I'm very it's very unnerving and I'm very uncomfortable. And I felt that same way with Candyman because he would just go out and kill people with his hook and just like rip them apart, and it was like, I'm very uncomfortable right now and I want to leave.
And another thing I noticed that this is one of the first movies I've seen where I actually felt I don't want to say it's one of the first movies I felt immersed in, but it's a movie I haven't seen in a long time where like I actually felt immersed in the movie. Yeah. Like I was in that world. Because like the characters felt very real. Like the pretentious professors that her husband is like friends with, it's like, oh, okay, y'all exist in real life. So
and also
like,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that the performance from the lead actress. I forgot her name in the movie. She was
Helen.
really good. Yeah, she was really good. The way she portrayed everything, she was fantastic.
Yeah, she was very good. And like my favorite scene is when she goes back, she escapes from the mental hospital and she goes back to her apartment and she sees that like the student that like was flirting with her husband is now living with him. I was like, yo, she's about to go crazy.
Yeah.
And you kind of see the very small inkling. She goes a little crazy and it's like foreshadowing to like what she will become later on. Because you kind of see like, oh, she's very intimidating right now. And she asks him like, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Yeah. No, yeah. She was really good.
And I also didn't know this, but like the actress, Virginia Madsen, I believe her name is, she's one of the characters in Swamp Thing, the show that came out last year on DC Universe.
Really?
And she's very good in that show.
Okay. It's interesting.
Unfortunately, got canceled.
Yeah,
so
after one season.
There's no more news. Dude, we still don't know what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I was arguing with one of my friends who's a huge DC fan, and he was like, why did it cancel it? And I was trying to research for it. Like, no one knows.
No one knows. There's only one that I think is only one reason that's like a rumor, but I think is like close to what happened is that there was like an error in the budget. So there was an extra zero where there shouldn't have been an extra zero.
Okay.
So it went from like 120 million to 12 million.
Okay.
So I don't know what the was. I don't know if it was for the budget. I don't know if it was for the studio. I don't know if it was for like the city that we're going to shoot in. But I think it's because there was a budget issue, a budget misinformation, and they were going to lose a lot of money if they continue there. So they just like pulled it after the one season. Yeah. So that's what I think happened. But it's just a rumor. I have no idea. I might as well make a documentary because like what really happened? Yeah. Because that was a great show. It combined horror with science fiction and also with like medical horror, if you know what I mean. Because like they're trying to figure out what's really going on with the people who are like getting sick in that community.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel like DC is doing like a lot of like experimental stuff, and I really like that. I did not watch the whole season. There's a whole season, right?
Swamp Thing? Yeah.
I watched the first episode and I liked it, but I didn't go back to it because it got canceled. So I just figured it's like I'm not gonna like it. But now that you say, I might just go back and continue it.
Oh yeah, definitely go back. There's like a post-credit scene for like the last episode that just makes me very sad that it got canceled because that introduced someone who's gonna be there for like this. I heard another rumor. So like these are all baseless claims. Originally the plan was for them to have 3 seasons of Swamp Thing and then eventually do like a crossover with like the other DC shows to make Justice League Dark.
Okay. Well, isn't J.J. Abrams developing a Justice League Dark for HBO Max?
Yeah, I think I know there's been like a movie project in the works for like years now. At one point, Guillermo del Toro was attached, or like he said, he expressed interest in it. I don't know what's going on, but like I hope J.J. Abrams isn't on it because I just don't trust him anymore.
Yeah.
He has a way of writing that I don't agree with.
What is that? Like
the mystery box. Do you know about that?
Not really. No, I don't.
Okay.
I've heard of it. I heard of it, but I didn't really never like research what it means or what it is.
Okay, so he gave a TED Talk years ago, something about the mystery box. And this is something that you'll see in almost every single movie he's produced or directed over the years. You'll see it in Lost, you'll see it in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and you'll see it in The Force Awakens. So essentially, like there's this like a box, and inside there's something very special inside, but you don't know what's inside. But you do everything you can to try to find out what's inside. And that's how he writes his stories. Where like he'll start like something like a mysterious force that he doesn't know anything about. And then he'll write stories around it, but like he doesn't complete it.
Okay.
So like essentially like once it gets around to like they're getting closer to the box, they're getting closer to discovering the mystery inside the box. It's just disappointing because he didn't know what to do from the beginning. And by the ending, it's just disappointing. So that's why I don't agree. I don't agree with his style of writing. I think it's a great exercise. I think it's a great way to write the first draft. But I don't think it's a way to like write out a whole entire series and then end on like a what the hell? What?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe if he knew what it was inside the box from the beginning, like just know or have an idea of what it is, and then build everything around it, and then just move everything to like it's gonna build up to this thing inside the box. I know what it is, but I'm not gonna tell you guys until like later. And then maybe that could work. I don't know. But if you like just do it and like you don't really know what is gonna happen, you just leave it in like mystery, like open ended. I feel like that's kind of meh if you don't know what you're doing.
I think it could work to an extent, but I still think like the people who are like following the story will be disappointed as well because they'll have their own theories about it.
Yeah.
And then like it will be disappointing. And not to say like fans can sometimes be a little too much. I can say as a fan myself, I've been a little too much. I've been like the girl from Misery sometimes. Have you seen Misery?
No.
Oh, great movie. I don't know. It's not on Hulu anymore, but you should watch Misery.
I'll add it to my list.
You add it to your list. That's great. But like I saw Misery like last month, and while I'm not the murderous person that she is, she did say something. She did go on some rants that I've gone on before with my own favorite TV shows. I'm like, oh, I'm a little crazy too. Where fans can be kind of crazy, but like they can also be. You also don't want to disappoint them because they are making you money.
No, yeah,
you know?
I agree. There should be a balance in there. I'm the type of like moviegoer that it's like I enjoy any kind of movie. I know art is subjective and you have your own opinion on it, but I do enjoy any kind of movie, even though it's bad. I do enjoy it because it's different. And I do have friends that just like bash in movies, and I do agree with them, but I mostly focus on talking about the good things about the movie, not the bad things. Not saying they're bad, that there's no bad things. I do agree there's bad things, but I do just try to focus more on the good things, if any.
I try to learn from the bad things. Like I acknowledge them there and then learn from them. Just so I don't make the same mistake.
No, yeah, I agree. You should be learning from the bad things. I do learn from the bad things, but at the same time, I do learn from the good things and try to say like, okay, this works. I'm gonna use it. This doesn't work. I'll make sure I don't do that.
Right. So back to Candyman, which was our original topic.
Yeah.
So like whenever Helen met Candyman, like, oh, actually, I'm gonna edit in spoilers at the beginning of this episode because I can spoil the whole movie. But like the first time you see Candyman walk in, who wasn't Candyman, like it was just like a gangbanger, pretends to be Candyman, and they just beat her up in the bathroom. When that happened, I just thought that was like the most unclimactic entrance ever. The way that happened, I think that was on purpose. Because it just zoomed up from the floor up to like his face, and like there's like no music or anything, nothing at all, no ominous like tones, no ominous sound effects, no music, just him walking into the bathroom, and she's still taking pictures, and it's like that's very unclimactic.
Yeah, I was thrown off by that. It's like they're just like straight up show him and like no add mystery to it, and then later on it's like okay. Makes sense now.
Which is exactly what causes her to not believe in him.
Yeah.
And then exactly what causes which causes Candyman to actually like say, hey, I had to kill you now because now people don't believe in me. Come on, it has to happen.
Yeah.
And the second part is that whenever she like wakes up after meeting him, so like every single time she meets him, she's like under hypnosis, which is something I read on Wikipedia is that Bernard Rose didn't want to do the typical screaming when she sees him. He wanted to do something different. So like they put her under hypnosis every time she met him. So like she's like not in control. She doesn't have any autonomy over her body. Like she's like under his control essentially. And every time when she wakes up after like the hypnosis, she's at a crime scene, and like I don't blame the cops for believing she did it because the evidence was damning right there.
Yeah,
like the first time when like she's like she wakes up, she's in Anne Marie's apartment, and there's like blood all over her, and she hears Anne Marie screaming, and then she sees a knife on the floor, and she picks it up because she wants to help her. Like I understand like the mentality there, but like I'm like, you picked it up, don't. Oh, okay. And you see the dog's decapitated head. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, that was super crazy. That's like, I don't want to see this.
Oh my God. I was like, and that dog was big and scary too. Like,
yeah. And
then I saw the blood on the baby's crib. I thought the baby died.
I thought they were going to show like some kind of like, just like meat mesh around the crib or something. I'm like,
same.
But they just showed blood, but still it was very disturbing to watch.
Yeah, because I was like, yo, they killed the baby? Like they don't do that in American films, and it's an American film. They don't kill the kid. Like they'll kill the kid, but like they'll show it off screen. Yeah. Which is something that's why this movie is like very different, and the shock value is there because they show the when like I forgot his name. I think it's Jake, the little boy. Hold on, let me see his name. I think I wrote it down.
Is it Anthony? Or was Anthony the baby?
I think Anthony was the baby. The boy was named Jake.
Okay.
So Jake said, when Jake was telling the story about the boy that died in the public bathroom, and they show like the mangled body of him.
Oh yeah.
And like the way the blood was like all around his like general area, and like he castrated him. Like yo,
Yeah.
this Candyman is like out of nowhere. So like I kind of expected the baby to be dead, and then when like the cops are questioning her, they're like, "Where's the baby?" I'm like, "Oh, the baby's still safe."
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's in danger.
Another thing I saw that I was expecting to see though in the movie was I keep forgetting her name, the main character. Helen. Where she was like going mad. There's a whole reason for like her to go mad, but I didn't really see her go crazy because I noticed like these things are actually happening and there's people dying and like no one believes you. And then I would have liked to see more of her like going into madness.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
She kind of stayed sane throughout the whole thing, even when she did. I did see her going insane, like you said. Like you can see in her eyes, she's about to go insane. She's about to like go berserk and start killing. But at the same time, or like right before she's about to snap or something, she will like go back into that like normal stance. Or like for example, whenever she was at the fire, she comes into her senses and she's like, I don't want to go with you, Candyman. I want to go save the baby.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I read that she's coming back for the sequel, for like the Jordan Peele sequel. And I'm wondering what she's gonna play because she's dead.
I know Tony Todd, the guy who played Candyman, he's coming back to reprise his role as Candyman. And I know Anne Marie, the one whose dog died.
Yeah,
she's coming back as well. I think because the story takes place in a gentrified location based off like the building. I don't know if Helen's coming back. I didn't see that.
I think I saw it somewhere. I'm not really sure, but if she is, I wonder what she's gonna play. But if she's not, then oh well. I also saw that the main character's name in the new movie, his name is Anthony.
Ooh,
I think so. I mean,
let's check.
Yeah, and it would be interesting if he was the baby, which I like. If that's the case, I like it because it's expanding on the story.
Oh, it's actually Anthony.
It is Anthony, right? Not sure if it's like any relation to baby Anthony.
His name is Anthony McCoy, and I think his mom's name was Anne Marie McCoy. Oh, so the woman's name is Anne Marie McCoy, and the character for the new Candyman movie, his name is Anthony McCoy. So there could be some relation right there.
Yeah.
There could be like maybe that's the baby because he would be around that age by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Now, yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching the movie.
So the YouTuber that I saw the video that made me want to watch this movie, he said he wanted Helen to become like the new Candyman after Candyman because Candyman essentially died in the bonfire in the end.
Yeah.
And then Helen became the new urban legend when she killed, what's his name? Trevor, who really deserved it, honestly.
Oh yeah,
like,
he was a huge piece of shit.
Oh my god, he's the only one who deserved his death because like, how can you cheat on a woman as great as Helen? Like she's smart, okay, she cares about you and she cooks you food when she doesn't have to.
And I like that scene they showed where he was remembering Helen and how she was like way better of what he had now at that moment. She didn't want to cook anything, like the cottage she didn't want to cook anything. She was just throwing the meat around, and Helen over here, she's working her ass off, like making the perfect dinner for him.
Yo, and did you notice that like the new woman that he was with, like the new, I guess she's a young girl. She must have been like what, 19, 20?
Yeah, probably like 20 something.
She kind of like resented him. Like, did you see like the way her face reacted every time, like after like she answered him? Like she's like,
yeah, she's
like just like a scowl. I'm like, yo, you resent this man. What the hell?
So, Jason, you think you should have seen this movie sooner, or?
So, I don't think I should have seen it sooner. I think this is like the perfect time for me right now to watch it. One, because I just started getting more into horror movies. And Candyman is a type of horror movie I would have been afraid to watch when I was younger. You know what I mean? Because it has like everything, like it's like scary, it's like bloody and gory. And now, like as like a little more seasoned filmmaker, I can say for myself, like I've made a few films, if you could call it that. I can definitely appreciate more films based on like how they're made. I can appreciate their cinematography and acting a lot more because I see what's really going on. Like, oh, they did this very well given what they had, the resources they had at the time. So I think I watched this at the perfect time, and I'm really glad this movie wasn't on my list too long. I put this on my list like last year, and it wasn't available then. It's on Netflix now as of this recording. So I really liked watching this movie. So if you guys can watch it, I would recommend watching Candyman. That's like a really good movie.
Yeah, my roommate got me into like all these like horror movies. We were binge watching all the Saw movies before all the COVID happened, and I really enjoy it. Now that I have all this expertise of like filmmaking stuff, I do like see what's going on, and I can like scrutinize the movie to the point where I still enjoy it without like ruining the movie for me. But I do started getting more and more into horror films, and watching Candyman really gave me that opportunity to be like, oh, this is a really good horror film, and I should be watching more and more things and see how they are made and how to make a good movie without like all these pop-ups and like one of those like spoofy not cartoonish, but like those movies where it's just like I said, pop-ups, or like I don't know what other tropes those movies have.
The idiot main character.
Yeah, like visceral, unnerving kind of horror.
Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely appreciate this movie because it's unlike any other around that time.
Oh yeah.
And I even watched the original Friday the 13th like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, why did this get really popular? Because it's such a horrible movie, Friday the 13th, like the original, the first one. I could see for myself, oh, this is a very cheaply made movie. So like they would have eventually made money, but like it's really bad.
Yeah, it's very campy. It's very like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say it. It's like a joke. Like they try to make fun of someone, and they're like, oh, we want to make this movie, but I want it to be scary too, and they just couldn't like find the balance there. But it got popular. It's one of those like it got a following.
Well, yeah, it had how many like sequels and reboots, and also a TV show that ran for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So can't really knock him. I guess. We reached the end of our discussion on Candyman and Bumblebee. Pedro, thank you so much for being here. So before we go, I want to ask you, were the movies a hit or a miss with you?
I believe that both movies were a hit for me.
Okay, both movies, Candyman and Bumblebee. Awesome. For me, Candyman was a huge hit, right on target. Bumblebee was a miss. I think that I made that perfectly clear.
Yeah, I respect that.
Thank you. Hopefully the Netflix Transformers series is better. So where can our listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram, you guys can follow my Instagram. It's at petcast9. Or my Twitter, it's ped_cast9. PEDCAST9.
Go ahead and follow him on Instagram, everyone. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter as well. I don't use Twitter. Maybe I do. You'll never know. So that's the episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, toss off a new film from your list. Thank you for listening to the Hit List Podcast. If you like this episode, please consider giving us 5 stars and leaving a review. It really does help. You can also follow us on Facebook at The Hit List Podcast and Instagram at _hitlist_podcast.